خب از یکی دیگه شروع بکنین تا اینکه خب حالا حالا من باید اینو رو تلویزیون ببینم که بگم و هنوز رو تلویزیون نیومده.
World, when we talk about women, about gender equality, it's a topic that is a fashion. It's popular, and it should be part of our DNA. That why women have to be in the front of processes, men and women, because alone sometimes we can't. Because most of the decision makers that are in the world today are men. So definitely, we have to say that women are in the forefront. Is talking about our DNA, how we can have some transformation processes and reivindication processes to make invincible those women and children who are just trying to bring peace. With the foundation, I understood how to make impossible possible, so that more women would be in the front of the processes through some historical goals. 3 or 4 years ago, we signed the first agreement with NASA for the first foundation in Latin America, where now we have 736 girls in front who have overcome poverty, who are children, girls who are victims of the armed problems. But as it was said before, they're not victims, they are invincible. And they are the best example, so that we can talk in this summit when we talk about peace, is that being able to talk about rights, it starts with really recognizing the rights of our boys and girls. But besides that, is being able to have more women having access to basic resources like water or internet. When we talk about women in the forefront, it's also a historical transformation, that ourselves as women, we unlearn a little bit of the macho culture. It's understanding how we can open spaces that are inspiring. Now that I was hearing Leymah, I did not imagine 8 years ago that I would be sitting here right next to great Nobel Prizes. And today, 2 years ago, I was in South Korea, and I said, we become those women in the forefront, so that more girls can see more references or more roles to follow. I think that that's our responsibility. Let's say, I always say, probably I'm very short, but very big in size. So it's becoming the reference for those girls and women who are becoming invincible. So bringing them out from the deep area where they are, so that they can be in front of those great transformations. But the most important thing is understanding that women nowadays, they not only lead processes in the world, they also lead, and we have heard a lot about compassion. They lead with compassion and empathy those great peace processes that are going to allow us to live in a harmonious world. That each one of them and you can become that role model for these women and girls, so that they can destroy stereotypes, so that they can see in us those great references. That's why talking about women at the forefront definitely is talking about women who are becoming invincible today. Thank you, Nadia, and excellent work, and you're an inspiration for everyone. Seguimos con Shirin, con sus comentarios. Aquí está su traductora. Quisiera pedir disculpas de nuevo con ustedes. Es una pregunta de la organización y es una mala organización. Siento mucho estar tomando su tiempo porque tenemos que hacer interpretación consecutiva y esperamos seguirla de esta forma rápidamente. Entonces, en respuesta a tu pregunta, lo que yo considero es que las mujeres necesitan tener seguridad en sí mismas, y para poder tener seguridad en sí mismas necesitan tener una independencia económica. A lo que me refiero es que la mujer debe de tener un trabajo fuera del hogar para que puedan tener un ingreso y no necesiten pedir dinero de los esposos, su papá o su hermano. Y para que la mujer pueda encontrar un empleo que pueda pagar sus gastos, tiene que tener una buena educación. Por lo tanto, lo más importante es la educación. La mujer tiene que poner atención a la educación. Entonces, generalmente cuando la mujer se casa, el consejo es, puedes quedarte en casa, hacerte cargo de los niños, poder criar buenos niños, pero generalmente hay un conflicto con esto. Pero esto no es la mejor recomendación o el mejor consejo que pueden recibir, porque tenemos 24 horas por cada día y podemos trabajar tanto fuera de la casa como dentro de la casa y ser una buena madre. Entonces, la mujer que tiene confianza en sí misma siempre está al frente, porque no van a estar oprimidas por personas que traten de hacerlas sentir menos. Entonces, no permitas que te quiten tu seguridad en ti misma. Cuando hablan acerca de, por ejemplo, que las mujeres son emotivas, que se cansan fácilmente, que se van a arrugar rápidamente, no escuchen todas esas cosas. La investigación ha mostrado que la mujer no es menos que el hombre, ni en inteligencia, ni en su resistencia corporal. Igualmente, la mujer puede tener una gran influencia cuando se trata de la paz. Pueden impactar a sus esposos, pueden impactar a sus hijos y decirles que la guerra no es la respuesta. Por lo tanto, siempre recuerden que cuando se está en detrimento la paz es porque la mujer no está jugando su rol ahí. Quisiera agregar algo porque tengo que partir porque tengo otra reunión. Como decía, tienen que ser valientes en todas las áreas y no, digamos, en ninguna parte de la vida ser solamente dejarse ser manipuladas por el hombre. Y eso es lo que sucedió hoy en la sesión de religión, en la parte de las diferentes fes. Todo mundo estaba en el diálogo, todos eran caballeros. Y la pregunta que hacía mi hija, que tiene 21 años de edad, y me decía, bueno, ¿de qué se trata esto, mamá? ¿Qué está pasando? ¿Por qué no hay una mujer ahí? Tienen ustedes que hacer la misma pregunta. ¿En dónde está la mujer ahí? No había ninguna mujer que pueda hablar acerca de las diferentes fes y religiones, del Islam, del cristianismo, el budismo. No hay ninguna mujer que pueda hablar de esto. Entonces es un gran error. Y nosotros compartimos esa responsabilidad, que cuando conjuntamos el programa no lo notamos, nosotros mujeres que estamos participando en esto. Entonces participen en todo. Y de nuevo, confía en ti misma. Confía en que tienes la capacidad de hacer lo imposible. Hacer lo imposible posible. No subestimes tu capacidad como ser humano y como mujer. Y dado que todos ustedes están con los hombres, siempre tienen un doble poder. Siempre sientan que son una supermujer que puede solucionar todos los problemas. Ustedes son la solución. Siempre menciona y siempre di, yo soy la solución. Y finalmente, ayuda a la gente alrededor del mundo. Te estimulo a que participes en todos los asuntos a nivel nacional en México, luchar por el cambio climático, luchar por la corrupción, luchar por cualquier tipo de injusticia y luchar contra los homicidios, feminicidios y tener la potencia económica. Y también tienes que estar con las mujeres alrededor del mundo. Las mujeres en Palestina te necesitan, las mujeres en Gaza te necesitan, las mujeres en Ucrania te necesitan, así como las mujeres en Siria. La mujer en África te necesita, las mujeres en todas partes, las mujeres indígenas aquí en este país también te necesitan. Muchísimas gracias. Y les pido disculpas anticipadamente. Estamos esperando escucharlas a ustedes, pero les prometo que su voz la vamos a escuchar muchísimo. Las quiero mucho. Muchísimas gracias y las queremos mucho. Te puedes venir para acá para que compartas este espacio. Okay, so we continue with the conversation in Mexico. Yes, trying to add is a little bit difficult, especially after such a powerful woman. I would like to bring the conversation to Latin America, because in different spaces where we hear these conversations, each person talks about what we experience, and culturally there are huge differences. There are countries that are much more advanced in regards to gender equality and access to equality and human rights. So I would like to bring this back to Earth, because in this country we talk about dignity, we talk about equality, we talk about human rights, and we say it probably very easily, but very few instances we start analyzing what is really happening in our country. Feminicides were mentioned here in Mexico, but the question that you asked us was, what recommendations, which recommendations do we have for women who are here in the different platforms? For me, it is a reflection that I think that is difficult to say and to listen to, but I think that it's important. We have a debt, women to women in this country. Sometimes we talk about equality as mujeres en contra, let's say, and they are the men. We are the women, they are the men. But the last 20 years, there has been a division, a very important division within the different groups of women, of feminist women, and where we have forgotten that the fight outside has to do with sorority and the power of the word sorority and respecting ourselves and loving ourselves and supporting amongst us women, no matter what the division is in regards to religion, no matter if there's sexual orientation, no matter division of the color of our skin, no matter what our beliefs are or how we understand justice or we don't understand justice. You said something very important that has to do with fighting those macho cultures. One of the great debts that unfortunately we have with ourselves, because we're born in countries where we're educated with a macho culture. And I'm saying this coming from a very open family where you would not think that the macho culture exists, where there are those areas where men are dominating or men have the last word. But the reality is that in our country, every day what we see, the ads that we hear or that we see on TV, what we see with our friends, what we see with what we talk about, the dynamic that we see in our world has a lot to do with knowing ourselves with no equality compared to men and recognizing those small things that we can change in ourselves in order to be able to stand up and fight as women in favor of gender equality, breaking those macho cultures in ourselves. So it's unfortunate that we have to do it, but it's a reality. I think that having a daughter has been one of the most wonderful lessons because constantly we question ourselves. What I just said, that's a micro-machism that I have, that I am giving to my daughter. I'm teaching my daughter that, I don't know, that I can tell my daughter, you are going to wear a dress and not some slacks for this event. Sometimes I say it so naturally that I don't even realize it. So unfortunately, being born in this country, we have this. And in order to allow Marta to take the mic, the struggle continues and the fight continues. I have heard women say, well, the feminists or the ones that went out in order to fight for the rights, now there's equality. No, it does not exist. And not only women are killed in Mexico and raped, in the world there's no gender equality, and the work is huge. So I'm sorry to tell the generations that are coming that the fight continues. As women, we have to understand and understand very well. We're not even close to be sitting, because we know that there's a lot to do, so that we can be that front that this country needs. You didn't leave anything for me to say. Very happy to be here today and trying to build on what was already said. I would say three things, especially the new generations, those generations that are here sitting, and that I thank you for being here, because it's also very important, the fight that they have today. A very important thing is that you're not alone and you're not going to start from scrap. There are many women who came before us who opened those cracks that seemed that they were never going to be open, that there were some others that came and started paving the way, but then you are coming behind. And while we had gender equality in the political field, our agenda is not yet there. It's not there yet. We need our agenda to be implemented. And for this, you have a fundamental role to play. But we have to learn from our history. We need to know what they did, how they did it. We have to learn it in order to see what were the mistakes that we made, but also what we can do differently. And that is something that you will have to do today. The second one is that there's lots of challenges. And as many said, lots of challenges, but we have advanced very much. And it's very important to identify what moves the needle faster. How can we close the gap faster? How can we speed up faster? United Nations said that we could take 203 years in closing the gender gap, but I think that we don't have time for that. So we have to speed up, and you'll have to do that. There are more than half of the population in the world. So it's evident that all together we can speed up. And my third recommendation, even though it seems that there are things that separate us, there are many more things that join us together, all women. And we need to strengthen those networks. Those collaboration networks in all the different fields, economic, political, social, environmental, in all of those fields where nowadays we see those gaps, particularly in violence that we have all talked about here. Not finding our differences, but strengthening our similarities. Trying to see what are those great challenges that we have, finding in those challenges what we have to focus on, and working collaboratively in our state, in the country, in the region, in the world, in order to be able to speed up, because we don't have 203 years ahead for you young people or our children, our grandchildren. So those will be my three recommendations. There's a quote that I heard Leymah some time ago, that I was with her in a panel, which said that you'll never leave markings that remain if you walking just on your tiptoes. And that, I kept it really, really close to me, because really we have to have our steps heard. We have to raise our voice. We have to sit at the table where decisions are made. We have to grab that chair. We have to be empathetic, but also authentic. We need courageously to do whatever is necessary. It doesn't matter what are the structures that we have to remove that have been limiting us. And definitely we have to work collaboratively, not only amongst women, but with all of those who really want to make this country and this region and this world a much better country, where we all have the same opportunities to flourish. Well, thank you so much for all your comments. Really, I don't know how to answer the question. I have no words. In order to try to conclude in what you said, all these inspiring women that we had in this panel, definitely we have to be for each other. From woman to woman, we have to reflect on us and say, my responsibility as a woman is to be there for the others. I feel that sometimes we are very critical to each other. How are we going to advance if we do not understand each other? Many people are going to say no. Many people have said no, as well as I'm sure that you have heard it. I remember when I was in school, they said, you will never be able to go to the university of a very high academic level. I just came back from Stanford a month ago. So everybody's going to say that you can't, but show them that it's not because you're women that you cannot do it. Because you're women, you can do it and better. So thank you very much to all our panelists. You are an inspiration for all of us. Secretary, as well as our other panelists that were not with us, you're an inspiration to follow. And as we all said in the panel, we have to continue fighting. Thank you so much. So we thank you for your presence. Thank you very much for your wonderful, inspiring words. And you are leaving a marking in all of those who are here listening to you. Can we have a picture taken? We think that your question is very interesting.